God, I hate it. I make noise, and then everybody becomes alert to the fact that I'm awake. I try trying to record, and let's go talk to him about something we want from him. Fucking leave me alone. I'm trying to record a fucking video. Jesus. But my family, they bother the fuck out of me for this. But yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with sh0eonhead about the video that she just put out. Like I left a comment on it, basically that these guys have learned nothing, which is just that I'm pro-vax, but I just don't think that censorship works. I would point to the Streisand effect, basically. I think the government has learned nothing about this, and that it's easy to predict how the public will perceive censorship about COVID misinformation. They'll react to it like, oh, the government must not have a good argument to make to discredit this misinformation. Otherwise they wouldn't be engaging in censorship. And I think those people are idiots to make that argument in the first place, and it's a really bad one. But it's not going to stop them. It's not going to make them not do it. That's exactly how they're going to react. It's like this is predictable. The government censors what it deems misinformation about COVID-19, and they may be right to deem it that. But how the idiot masses will read it is the government is trying to silence the truth. We're being censored for trying to spread the truth about vaccines. Now, I know that they might not actually be spreading the truth, but it's relatively easy to predict how a huge swath of the public will react to government censorship, and censoring the public voice on vaccines. So, like, I'm pro-vax, but I'm also old enough now to realize that censorship has a strong and pronounced tendency to backfire on the people that are trying to censor something, you know and that is basically my concern with what sh0eonhead is basically announcing in this video. It's just like the right thing to do on vaccines would be to do something like, think in terms of vaccine metaphor. Okay, you inoculate the public by educating them into how to critically read studies, and into things like how the VAERS database has, for instance, there are doctors that have come in and to demonstrate a point where they reported that the vaccine turned them into the Incredible Hulk, just to point out that you could submit just about anything to the damn thing, and that you should take the results in the VAERS database with a little bit more of a grain of salt, ultimately, because those cases and what the people are alleging in them are not necessarily verified. So we need the VAERS database and everything, but that we need to be a little bit more skeptical of the shit that we read in it, instead of just taking it as some kind of gospel, ultimately, and to educate the public into things like cherry picking fallacies and logical fallacies and what they are, and giving them a formal introduction to basically the list of logical fallacies and cognitive biases and all of that sort of thing. You make them aware of those sorts of things. But the government, like, maybe Carlin's right. Maybe you don't want people to know, to be well educated, and enough to engage in that kind of critical thinking, because that they'll figure out that you and the system threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. And you want obedient workers that are just smart enough to take just smart enough to accept the shittier jobs, the vanishing overtime, the vanishing, the disappearing overtime, the vanishing pension that goes away, the minute you begin to collect it, the insatiable greed of these assholes, and that they want workers. So they want obedient workers, not people that are, educated enough to think critically about the matter. So are they going to educate the public into how to actually see through the lies and inoculate them against vaccine misinformation? No, I guess so. It falls down to people like me to do their dirty work for them, because they're not going to actually do what they should have done in the first place when it comes to this one. I will be back later with more on all of that. I don't have the time to do it and to educate you at this exact moment in time, but I think that since the government isn't doing its job, that I will do my best to bring it to my subscribers in the future about this one. I think that when it comes to bad misinformation speech, you're better off just giving people good information than you are trying to shut down bad information. It doesn't have a very strong tendency to work. And that, as an IT professional and a person that, well, not really a professional, but as an IT, like, non-idiot, like somebody that didn't come to the internet yesterday and that knows my way around a computer, feels comfortable opening a computer and working inside a computer, feels comfortable working on the command line and with Linux boxes and everything else. Even if I didn't get formally educated into it, there's a lot of good information out there about those topics so that you can self-educate. But my thing in all of this is to just say that engineering wise, if you relocate, if what will happen is if you try to shut down misinformation in this country, it's predictable that if even if you were to ban it and to say that the US corporations can't host that kind of misinformation and to engage in instigating and shutting down all of that stuff, that eventually what you're going to see is that social media platforms will emerge that operate on the other side of the world and outside of the reach of the US national authorities, and then they'll continue to spread disinformation and misinformation rampantly. These things work best in the light where we can see them and where we can educate the public and argue with them. Censorship is pretty much doomed, and that's basically the explanation for my comment on sh0eonhead's channel. I'm pro-vaccine as fuck. I will get in countless arguments with people very passionately to vaccinate themselves, and have expressed that I'm fiercely in favor of a woman's right to do what she wants with a baby growing inside of her. But I will not endorse body autonomy for the simple reason that when you refuse to vaccinate, you're forcing everyone you come into contact with to make the same risk you are, because that's how viruses work. They jump from human to human via either the air or contact with other people or the things those people touch. And it's like, I think a pregnancy is between you and your doctor, and if you want to abort, it's none of my fucking business. But that vaccines are a matter of public health and not individual choice, and so the society has the right to be 17 kinds of up your ass about getting vaccinated, and deeply all up in your business. But about that one. But having said all of that, I'm with you full stop on this one, because it's like the government's gonna censor COVID-19 misinformation, and they think it's gonna help convince people that vaccines are safe. Have these people learned nothing? I mean, I've been here the whole time, and I can tell you how it's predictable that the public will react. Now, for me, the government isn't trying to silence the truth. Those people just didn't do a good enough job making their case that COVID-19 was unsafe. The vaccines were unsafe. What they should have done, if they wanted to convince me that they were truly unsafe, was to get their arguments through peer review and into peer-reviewed papers. In from the scientific community. Then maybe if they could show me that sort of thing, I would maybe consider the possibility and potential that they were actually right. But they don't do that. They go on YouTube and make crappy videos about how unsafe vaccines are, and the government wants to stop it. It wants to shut it down because there are people that are dumb enough to actually believe those people. But the way to deal with that is to educate the public. It's not you're not going to get results through this campaign of censorship. You're going to get the people that come in and basically accuse the government of not having a good enough argument to refute those people's disinformation, and so it just shows the censorship angle on things, and it will just make everything worse. And so I that's my concern ultimately on this one, and so I just wanted to say solidarity, sh0eonhead.